Alright guys, so today I wanted to talk about my high school experience with having undiagnosed Asperger's. I just want to talk about the various things that I experienced, and I'm hoping that this video isn't too bad or too boring for you guys because I want it to be as entertaining as possible. Anyway, so I had a pretty miserable time in school. I went through so much shit, and most of it was mental issues such as extreme amounts of depression mixed with crippling anxiety. I also didn't really have any social skills whatsoever, and I didn't know what anxiety was at the time. It was only something that I heard of in passing, so it made my everyday life a complete nightmare, to be honest. Unfortunately, I experienced extreme amounts of harassment and bullying when I was at a much younger age, but luckily most of that stopped when I got older. When I got older in school, and you know, when you get older in school, so does everybody else, so they stop doing stupid shit most of the time. But I was still mentally traumatized, you know what I mean? Because of my previous experiences of actually being exposed to, like, you know, the constant bullying and harassment. The thing with bullying is that, like, you might get older, but the effects of it always stick with you, if you know what I mean. And then I'm not even sure why. It's just, I think even though it was a long time ago, that trauma still kind of affects me in some ways to this day. My school experience wasn't only bad because of the harassment though. I was also pretty bad at like subjects because I failed nearly all of my exams after the age of 16, and I'm not even joking. This is gonna sound like crazy, but this was due to me being extremely depressed and unmotivated with life. I think me being bullied and picked on honestly actually made me lose interest in school because, like, you know, when you constantly associate school with, like, you know, pain, it makes you lose interest, if you get me. So yeah, I lost interest in school and education as a whole, basically. This is gonna sound kind of funny, but I actually remember one time my biology teacher actually allowed me to cheat an exam by using the book. I still failed, which was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, I know that's really stupid, but yeah, feel free to roast me if you want. Like, it was so stupid though, because the book had like 400 or 500 pages, and we only had like 30 minutes to do the whole exam. So it was actually impossible for me to search through 500 pages and look for all of the answers within that time period. So that's why I failed. I even checked the index on the book, and that didn't help at all because I had to rush, you know. So yeah, it's pretty hilarious how I was allowed to cheat a test and I still failed. It's just something that will of course happen to me and nobody else, if you know what I mean. I'm pretty sure the teacher must have been wondering too, like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Because I was constantly failing everything in her class. The problem with me too is that, like, I was always afraid. I was scared of the other students, other people, and, you know, terrified of the teachers, and I think that also added to the overall stress and anxiety that I felt on a daily basis. Not to mention the fact that I had an undiagnosed disability at the time, which really didn't help me at all. As a matter of fact, it was probably like the main reason I was so unhappy with myself throughout all of school. And not to sound like too edgy, but I just felt like an outsider, you know, like my entire life. And I really didn't like the cliques that were everywhere. Voice crack. I didn't really like the cliques that were everywhere in school. Seriously though, like, I always hated how cliquey school was, and even then my first job was extremely cliquey too, which only made me hate it more. It's just, I've always been the type of guy that hates the feeling of, you know, ostracization and exclusion, if you get me. So that's why I really hate cliques. So when you're trying to make friends, that feeling of segregation doesn't really help. It's like the worst feeling ever. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, segregation, but that's kind of what it felt like when everybody in the school is with their own kind of, you know, groups of people, their own friends. It puts that feeling of ostracization on you, if you get me. I think the reason why I hate ostracization so much is because I try to be an inclusive guy. Like, if I'm in a group of friends and I see someone sitting by himself in a corner, I'd go over and talk to him and ask him if he wants to hang out with us. Because you never know what people are going through, and it's always good to be nice to people. Luckily for me, I worked on myself a lot throughout those years at the age of 17 and 18, so right now I feel like a completely different person than I was in school, and thank God for that, because I was a wreck back then, a train wreck. So I'm glad that I was able to actually, you know, work on myself and improve myself and basically improve my overall life in every way, basically. It's crazy how different people become over time. Like, I was in class with a lot of scumbags from the age of 13 to 15, and these people would start fights, bully people for no reason, and basically drive the teachers insane. I remember there was this one guy, he was in my class, and my primary school class, and he never really done anything bad to me, at least not that I can remember. Anyway, this guy went to prison at the age of 18, and not to give away too much details, but it was for stabbing some old man and robbing a store at gunpoint. And it was just kind of crazy for me to think that this guy was in my class, if you know what I mean. Because he was actually kind of nice to me at times. Like, he obviously had issues, but I kind of felt sorry for him in some way, because his parents were infamous and never really gave a crap about him. It's just weird because, like, he's done terrible things, and, like, when I spoke to him in school, he wasn't, like, really, like, that bad, if you know what I mean. But obviously he was, as he's, like, done terrible things. There was also this other guy who I was in class with a long time ago, and he was like pretty crazy, honestly. Like, I used to be actually scared of this guy because he was just so kind of like off the rails. Like, he was so unpredictable. Like, one day he come in and kind of like smile at you and try to be cool with you, then other days he come in and like he'd threaten to like kick your face in for like no reason. And like, that guy was involved with so much kind of shit after school as well. Like, I'm pretty sure he's in prison now too for like stabbing some guy. And it's just weird because like, it's just that one there doesn't surprise me at all, honestly, because like, that guy had issues clearly. And I was in the lowest class, and so were these guys, so I was kind of around them a lot. Not all the time, but we had different classes with different people, and for a certain subject that I was in, I was with these guys, so I was kind of surrounded by these type of people the whole time that would just like, you know, threaten you for no reason and just ruin the class for everyone basically. It was awful. Like, they're actually psychopaths, I'm not even joking. You can probably tell from listening too. And I couldn't actually learn because of these guys. Because like, when you're surrounded by these type of idiots the whole time, where you're just on edge, like, it's impossible to relax and take in information when you know there's a guy waiting to like possibly threaten you for no reason. A lot of teachers in my school were also psychopaths. Like, they would come into our classroom while we were learning and just start screaming their head off for like no reason. Particularly the vice principal. This guy was a piece of shit. Like, honestly, he would come into our class a lot. I'm not sure how often, but it felt like a lot, and he just starts screaming for no reason. And like, I'll just be kind of sitting there thinking to myself, man, like, we're like 13 years old, and like, you're basically screaming at kids for like no reason because one guy like was an asshole or something. And like, these teachers obviously have like issues. They obviously have like, you know, a power complex because they just feel so in control and it makes them feel good basically, but they're actually assholes, honestly. And I'd always be terrified of these teachers because of that, because I don't like when someone raises their voice at me, or when someone in general just screams. Kind of like, it pisses me off, like, it makes me really angry. So like, when a guy starts screaming his head off for no reason, to me it's kind of like they're playing with fire in a weird way. But at least I'm smart enough to know that not all teachers are assholes. Some of them are actually like really cool, really nice and friendly, and they don't go full psycho on students, but the bad ones are really bad, honestly. I remember I was supposed to meet my biology teacher one time for like a meeting or something, and I stopped in the middle of the corridor and asked her, and she just completely lost her shit at me for no reason. She just started screaming at me, like going full mental on me for no reason. And like, all of the students that were walking by gathered around me and her in like a massive circle and started watching me get roasted for like no reason. It was the weirdest thing ever, because like, I just asked a question. I'm like, okay, where do I meet you? And she just turns around and just freaks out for like no reason, man. And I'm like, this bitch clearly has issues, honestly, like. I also remember that my year head, he was like the guy who was in charge of us, of our like year, he would always like give out to me. I was always getting in trouble, and like, he used to like bring me out of class and kind of talk to me about some bullshit, and he'd always get like really, really close to me, like, when he was talking to me. It was always like really uncomfortable. Like, he'd stand close to me, to my face, and I'd walk back, and he'd walk close to me, as in like 3 or 4 foot away from me, and like, I could actually get like, it was like he wanted to kiss me or some shit. It was so weird. But yeah, I used to always try to like step away or walk back, and he'd be walking closer, and I'd be like thinking to myself, yo, like, do you have issues, man, or something? Like, I don't feel comfortable standing this close to your face. Well, I obviously didn't say that, but I'd be thinking it, you know what I mean? He was also a biased fuck too. Like, he'd stop me in the corridors and give out to me for wearing shoes that weren't black, and like, there'd be other students walking by blatantly wearing different colour shoes, like yellow like boots and stuff like that. And he'd never say anything to them, but of course he'd say something to me, you know. It's like, what the hell? Just typical school look, you know. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I used to get jumped after school at the age of 10 and the ages of 13 and 14. This is probably the most traumatizing experience because it really affects your mental health and your overall quality of life. I didn't want to go outside much because of this, and I also became, you know, very antisocial, and luckily I worked on myself for years, and now I'm a relatively normal person, I think. Well, at least I like to think anyway. I think I should mention this because it's one of the early times where I felt like I noticed a symptom of having Asperger's. It was back when I was 17. I was talking to like one of my teachers, and I asked him, well, I said to him, I'm like, sir, like, I feel weird, like, I feel like there's something wrong with me. And he goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know, I feel like there's something wrong with me, and I'm not sure what it is, I just feel different. And he kind of looked at me and was like, well, maybe you're dyslexic or something like that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I kind of ignorantly ignore him. I kind of like shrug it off, and I'm like, no, I don't want to feel different. I don't want to be in another class, like, and excluded, if you know what I mean. And looking back, I'm pretty sure that was just me feeling the early signs of, you know, having undiagnosed disability, basically. So yeah, I felt like it was kind of important to bring that up. I guess it just kind of sucks because I feel like if I did find out that I had a disability, I would have been in a much better place. I think I would have done better in school. I would have, you know, gotten better grades, and I might be at a way better place now in life, maybe, or who knows, maybe I wouldn't, and I'll still be where I am today, but I doubt it. Anyways, that's all I got to say for this video, guys. So if you've actually listened, thank you. Make sure to support me by leaving a like and a comment. I'd appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.